Before we dive in, drop a quick hi in the comments. It may seem small, but trust me, it really helps YouTube share this story with more sci-fi fans like us. I'd love to see who's watching.
Shipmaster Dorith stood at the center of the Merlist's bridge, his flank light moving slow and even. Pale gold, the color of a mind at rest. His first officer crossed to him, a thin ribbon of amber running along his own flank. A question, held politely. "Speak it, Renthi." "Emergence in 90 beats, Shipmaster. The corridor is charted empty. Doctrine advises I confirm the first contact pattern." "Confirm it." "If we emerge before no presence, we announce, we hold, we do not arm. If we emerge before a presence already armed." His light dimmed a shade. "We assume the intent we would assume of ourselves. We answer as we would be answered." That is the pattern. Dorith's gold light never wavered. In 400 emergences, he had announced peace 400 times and drawn a weapon never. And he was proud of it, the way a man is proud of a thing he has never had to question. "The corridor is empty. Take us out." The drive hum peaked. The stars tore, folded, and set. And the corridor was not empty. Gray holes filled the forward arc. A cargo ship bracketed by weapon-scarred escorts, every one of them already turned bow on. Already close. Close enough that the muzzle glow of their point defense was spinning up along their flanks like a row of small suns. Armed. Waiting. As if they had been told exactly when to expect him. Dorith's gold did not have time to become a question. It went to the deep red of the war state, flank to crown, and every officer caught the color off him and threw it back. "They were waiting for us," Renthi said. No fear in it, only the terrible calm of doctrine confirming itself. "Answer as we are answered." Even now his light held steady. That was what 400 clean emergences had bought him. "All batteries, launch." While that order crossed the Merlist's bridge, aboard the Meridian, Captain Merrick Osei was arguing about a crate. "It's a rock," Osei said. "You flagged it Priority 1 on a manifest of 900 Priority 1s, and I would like to know why the rock." Lieutenant Commander Silas Brandt didn't look up from the loading report. "Curator flagged it. It goes on my sheet. I am a man who reads sheets." He scrolled. "Pedestal. Dark stone. Disc set in the top. Dead 600 years. Nobody's ever worked out what it is. And the silent, the long-extinct civilization that left it behind, didn't leave many mysteries intact. Okay, it's a table. It's a Priority 1 table, Captain, and it's your fault for asking." Osei let the corner of a smile through. 3 weeks of quiet transit had worn everyone down to this. Nonsense stretched thin over long dark, because nonsense beat the silence. He turned to say something about dinner. The forward display filled with ships. Oh, alarm. The ships came first. The alarm caught up half a second behind, and then the bridge was all noise and red. "Contact!" Adeyemi half shouted it. "Fleet mass, dead ahead, 1,200 meters and closing. They came out of nothing, sir. They're on top of us." "Identify." "Unknown, not squawking anything." "They're arming." Brandt was already at the rail, the ease gone off his voice like a coat. "Point defense across their whole line. They are firing, Captain. Now!" The deck shifted under the first hit before he finished. "All ships, weapons free. Escorts form on the Meridian. Protect the hull." The dark outside filled with light that was not gold. The escort channel was still open when Osei heard the first escort die. Captain Farrow of the Tanager was in the middle of a report. "Meridian, Tanager, taking their leading spread, screening your bow. We can hold if you—" He never finished it. The Tanager came apart in a white flower, and the silence where his voice had been was louder than the blast. 91 men. Osei set the number down somewhere and closed the lid. They shoot like they drilled it 1,000 years, he said. Not a swarm. A machine, each hole covering the next. No gap to pry. Adeyemi, their lead ship. The Meridian's heaviest railgun took the big alien hole amidships, its plating crazed. Its light guttered red where the round bit home. And it kept coming. Boarding craft, Adeyemi called. Small, fast. They mean to take us. Of course they do, Brant said without heat. It's what I'd do. A white flash blossomed across the dorsal hull as the first boarding pod struck. A heartbeat later, the impact shuddered through the deck beneath Osei's boots. They came in through the cargo decks, and the battle for the Meridian became a battle in her own corridors. Osei never saw it. He heard it, and that was worse. The marine channel stayed open, a mic keyed and jammed, and through it came Gunnery Sergeant Richard Strauss, steady as a metronome. 2 in cargo 3, big ones. The bastards glow when they move. Watch the light. Boyd, your left, son. I see it, Sergeant. The younger voice was Boyd. 19, if that. Stay on my shoulder. Nobody gets past cargo 3. Those things don't quit. So we don't either. Fire. A wet, heavy concussion that shook the mic. Half a second of silence with a shape to it. Then Boyd, climbing an octave. Sergeant, Richard's down, he's down, somebody. Cargo 3. Osei stood on his bridge with his hands flat on the housing and listened to a 19-year-old find out he was alone. Boyd, fall back to the spine. Leave him. That's an order. Boyd didn't fall back. Osei heard him not falling back. Firing, still firing, calling the dead man's name between rounds. And then the firing stopped, and the name stopped with it, and the channel gave him nothing after that, but the hiss of an open mic in a corridor with no one left to speak into it. 6 minutes. He looked at the bridge clock, and only then realized how long he'd been listening. Cargo decks are theirs, Brant said, quiet now. No joke anywhere near his mouth. Coming up the spine. Petrol's gone. Kestrel's dark. I won't give you a number. You know it. Ram the lead ship, Osei said. Aye. Adeyemi turned to relay it, and the bridge hit came. Around through the compartment, a white gout where the forward console had stood. The blast threw Osei into the display. When the smoke thinned, she was on the deck, and she wasn't moving. He gave her 1 second. 2. Then the Meridian, gutted, burning, full of the enemy, turned her broken bow toward the alien flagship to carry out the last order she would ever receive. The world reset. Osei was on his feet at the display. The stars outside were gone. No constellations, no drift of distant light, nothing for the eye to hold. The board read 411 names, every one green. Adeyemi was at her station, breathing, turning toward a routine check with her brow just faintly creased, alive and whole 3 feet from the deck, where she had died with her back to him. Osei did not move for a moment, neither did Brant. The two of them stood in the wreck of something only they could see, except the wreck wasn't there. No breaches, no smoke, no dead. Silas. I saw it, Brant said. Low. I saw all of it. Then tell me what I'm looking at. Brant had no answer. Neither did Osei, and a captain without an answer reaches for the nearest solvable problem. This one sat on every display. They were not moving, and they could not see out. Chief Sokolov to the bridge. Sokolov came fast, ran his hands over the nav station, and the crease in his forehead deepened with every pass. Sir, no fix. No stars. No beacons. No reference. It isn't that navigation's down. Navigation's fine. There's nothing out there for it to read. He pulled the drive board. And we're not under power, not coasting. We're just sitting, like the ship forgot which way forward is. An anomaly, Osei said. Careful. He was building a floor to stand on, and he knew it. Something hit us. A field. A weapon. Something exotic. Scrambled sensors. Scrambled. He didn't say what we think we saw. Everything. And left us drifting. That would fit what I'm reading, Sokolov said. It was his job to make sense of the readings, and this was the first explanation that fit them. Then we wait it out, and we fix our position the moment we can see. They waited. The stars did not come. 14 hours in, Brant stood at the dead viewport with a mug going cold in his hand. We're not adrift. Adrift means moving. He tapped the black. We're just stuck in the drift. The word stuck to the ship the way names do. At something past a full day, the stars came back, all at once, constellations snapping into place, beacons answering, a fix locking in under a second. Sokolov laughed, one sharp note. Position confirmed, exactly where we should be, sir. Whatever it was, it's past. The bridge breathed. Log it as an unclassified anomaly, Osei said. Resume course. Ahead 1/3. Brant came to stand by him, quiet, so only the captain heard. You and I saw men die. I know. And they're at their posts. I know that too. Osei watched the restored stars. It's behind us. Take the wind, Silas. We don't get many. The meridian began gently to move. They made it 11 minutes. Contact! Adeyemi. And the word went through Osei like a blade, because he knew the pitch of her voice on it. Fleet mass dead ahead, 1,200 meters. They came out of nothing. Out of nothing. Exactly where they had come out of nothing. Bow on. Point defense spinning up along the line like a row of small suns. What the hell? Osei breathed. They're arming, Brant said, and then heard himself say it, and his face changed. There was no time to understand it. There was only the same battle, arriving on the same beats, and no choice but to fight it. Osei gave the orders, and he knew he had given them before, every one of them. And the horror climbed into him one recognition at a time, each beat of the battle falling exactly where it had fallen the first time. Pharaoh's voice, mid-report. Screening your bow, we can hold if you... And the word was hold, and the tanager came apart in a white flower, and Osei's stomach went through the deck, because he had heard that exact broken word before. The pods hit the dorsal hull. The marine channel opened. 2 in cargo 3, big ones. Richard. Sir. Fall back. Seal cargo 3 behind you. Leave them the compartment. Sir? Now. Take Boyd with you. Already moving. Adeyemi turned to relay the ram order, and Osei opened his mouth to scream at her to get down. The bridge hit came. The white gout. She was on the deck. He had known. Half a second early, he had known, and it had bought her nothing. Then the world came back, empty of stars, green board, Adeyemi breathing. And this time, Osei did not reach for an anomaly. He looked around the bridge, and he saw it on every face. They all remembered. Adeyemi at her station. Sokolov, who had run the same failed nav check twice now. Brant was already looking back at him with the same conclusion. Nobody on this ship needed telling. They had all lived it twice and carried both. So now we know, Osei said. Level, unhurried, a man stating the shape of a problem he intended to solve. We're not drifting. We're not stranded. We keep getting put back. The same day, the same ships, the same fight, down to the same 6 minutes. In about a day, the stars come back. A few minutes after that, They emerge again, dead ahead, 1,200 meters. That's twice confirmed. There will be a third. Nobody looked surprised. There was nothing in any manual for it, and every soul on the bridge already knew that, because every soul on the bridge had been there. Then we stop being surprised by it, Osei said, and we start using it. They waited out the drift. This time they all waited knowing exactly what it was. When the stars came back, no one needed telling twice. The countdown ran in every head on the bridge. When Adeyemi called contact, dead ahead 1,200 meters, it was confirmation, not surprise, and the crew was already moving. Pharaoh. Osei was on the escort channel ahead of the man's first word. Do not screen our bow. Break high, hard burn. Now, get above their firing line. Move. Breaking high meridian, Pharaoh said. The tanager climbed. The leading spread that had killed her twice went under her keel into empty space, and 91 men who remembered dying twice lived. Pods launch in 40 seconds. Cargo decks, Osei said. Pull every Marine out of 3 and weld it shut behind them. Don't defend the cargo. Abandon the deck and seal it. Richard, he keyed the Marine channel. Sergeant, fall back from Cargo 3 before anything comes through that hull. Understood, Meridian. Richard went. The pods breached a sealed, empty deck. The boarders came through into a compartment with nothing to kill, and the Marines held the spine from behind a welded bulkhead the enemy bled against for nothing. Osei fought the whole battle a half-second ahead of it. He knew which way the lead ship would turn, because it had turned that way twice, and he put the railgun where the turn would take it. The Meridian did not win, but she did not die, and neither did anyone aboard her. When the interval ran out and the world came back to empty stars and a green board, all 411 names were green because they were supposed to be, not because the universe had put them back. Adeyemi was at her station, breathing. Osei looked at her a long moment, and this time it was not grief. Silas, Captain, we just fought them and buried no one. Quiet. We've stopped losing. We haven't stopped. He looked at the black where the stars should be. Something is reaching out and doing that to time. To my ship, my crew, the dead getting up again. It's impossible, and it's happening, and it has a cause. I want it found. Where do we start? Everywhere. Every specialist aboard. One room. Science, engineering, anyone who's ever touched exotic physics. We've got a day in the drift and nothing to do but think. We use it. Brant nodded slowly. I'll pull them in. Every loop from here, we come out knowing one more thing than we did going in. That's the mission now. Osei turned from the viewport. Not beating them, understanding this. Because surviving the same day forever isn't surviving, Silas. It's just a slower way to lose. And if understanding it doesn't get us out, then we understand it anyway. He looked at the dark a moment longer. I'd rather know what's killing us than die comfortable and stupid. Brant almost smiled. It didn't reach anywhere, but it tried. I'll get your specialists, Captain. 4 hours into the drift, the door opened, and Dr. Emmerich Lindqvist crossed the bridge to where Osei stood. Captain. He stopped in front of Osei. I need you to listen to me. What I found will be difficult to believe. Sit, Osei said. I'd rather stand, Captain. Lindqvist set his reader on the plot table, and when he spoke it was like a man sure of every word. You asked what's aboard your ship that could do this to time, Lindqvist said. I found it. What I'm about to tell you will sound impossible. It's also correct, and I can show my work. I've watched the same men die twice, Doctor. My threshold for impossible moved this morning. Osei gestured. Go. The pedestal. One of the relics you're escorting to the Human Galactic Museum. Lindqvist turned the tablet so Osei could see it. A scan of the dark stone, the disc recessed in its top. Everything on this ship resets perfectly. I mean perfectly. The same scratch on the same crate. Coffee cooling to the same temperature. Every atom put back where it was found. He tapped the disc. Except this. I'm a man of procedure, Captain. I record everything about a piece I'm studying. By habit. Obsessively. He tapped the stone. Understand what that means. Everything on this ship reset. My notes with it. Back to exactly what they said. And I remember every word I wrote. So I have my own record, right here, telling me precisely where this disc sat. He looked up. It doesn't sit there now. It's turned a few degrees, like a dial moved a notch. Every atom on this ship went back into its box. This one did not. So it's the cause, Brandt said. No, it's the catalyst, and only half the equation. Lindqvist spoke faster now, following the evidence where it led. It isn't a machine, Commander. There's no power source, nothing to switch on. It's just stone. But that stone was made to resonate with a very specific kind of energy. For centuries it sat silent, because nothing ever produced that energy nearby. Then, an alien fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel barely 1,200 meters away, and flooded space with exactly the signature this pedestal was built to respond to. He spread his hands. Neither one is dangerous by itself. The pedestal is inert. An FTL jump releases enormous amounts of exotic energy, but by itself it's harmless. Bring the two together at the right distance, and the pedestal resonates. That resonance twists the space around it into a closed temporal loop. The drift, the reset, all of it. Then it isn't dead space out there, Osei said slowly, when the stars go. No, Lindqvist's voice dropped. And that's the part you need to hear carefully. It pushes us outside normal space-time, into a pocket that sits beside the flow of time instead of within it. That's why you can't see out. There is no out to see. And when the pocket collapses, it sets us back exactly where it picked us up, at the same instant, as though no time had passed. Everything resets. Lindqvist paused. Why our memories survive? I think it's because we're inside the pedestal's field when it activates. The pedestal doesn't just pull itself into the pocket. It pulls everything close to it. This convoy. The escorts. Us. We spend the entire loop inside that pocket, so when it collapses, our memories come back with us. He glanced toward the tactical display. The aliens don't. They only arrive when they drop out of FTL. They're outside the field when the pocket forms, so they never enter it the way we do. That's my best explanation. I can't prove it yet. We'd need to observe a few more cycles before I'd call it a conclusion. Brandt was quiet a moment. So nobody built a trap. Nobody is guilty. This wasn't designed. It wasn't planned. An ancient device and an alien FTL jump met under exactly the wrong conditions. The result is the worst accident in the history of physics. Then how do we stop it? Osei asked. I don't know yet. Lindqvist looked down at the disk. But if this is a resonance, then one side of the equation has to change. Resonance only exists while both sides match. Change either one, and the note never sounds. He looked back at Osei. I don't know which side we change yet, but that's where the answer is. You'll have your conditions to study it, he told Lindqvist. Because we're done just surviving this. Brandt looked over. Meaning? Meaning the mission has changed. We know they're coming. We know how they fight. There's no reason for anyone to die while the doctor is trying to solve this. Osei met Lindqvist's eyes. Next loop, nothing is left to chance. Every battery is laid before they clear FTL. Every corridor is sealed before a boarding pod lands. We hit them first. We control the fight from the opening second, and we keep them reacting to us instead of the other way around. He nodded toward Lindqvist. While we do that, the doctor watches the pedestal without the battle pulling his attention away. Brandt gave a tired smile. And the crew gets one loop where we're not the ones who bleed. That too. The stars came back. Osei had the clean minutes. All stations. Orders before the contact call. You move on my word, not on your board. Sokolov, come to 270 and hold. Guns, lay in the following solution now. Do not wait for a target. He read off bearings for ships that weren't there yet. Marines, seal cargo 2, 3, and 4, and fall back to the spine. Now. Adeyemi, on my mark, call it. Contact, Adeyemi said, exactly on the mark. Dead ahead, 1,200 meters. Fire, Osei said. The Meridian's railgun spoke into empty space, and the emptiness vanished as the alien flagship tore out of faster-than-light travel directly into a firing solution laid before it existed. The opening barrage struck before its weapons had even finished coming online. After that, it ceased to be a battle. Osei stayed half a second ahead of every decision the enemy had not yet made. The flanking ships climbed exactly where they always climbed, and the escorts were already waiting. Boarding pods struck cargo decks that had been sealed and abandoned minutes before they launched. Every move the aliens considered had already been answered. Petrels destroyed their flanking ship, Brandt reported, unable to keep the surprise from his voice. Captain, they haven't landed a single hit. Osei watched the tactical display for another moment before nodding. Enough. Hold fire where you can. We've learned what we came to learn. Don't turn this into slaughter. At the edge of the bridge, Lindqvist never looked up. His reader remained connected to the pedestal, recording every fluctuation while the battle unfolded around him. Every few seconds he entered another observation, his attention fixed on the stone rather than the war it had accidentally created. 1,200 meters away, Shipmaster Dorith watched certainty disappear. His fleet had emerged exactly as doctrine demanded. Then the unknown ships opened fire before his own had fully unfolded from faster-than-light travel. Every maneuver he ordered was already countered. His boarding craft entered empty cargo decks. Every avenue of withdrawal closed before he committed to it. For the first time in 400 emergencies, the pattern offered him no answer. "How can they know us?" he whispered. No one on his bridge replied. The interval ended. The stars vanished. The Meridian stood whole once more. No scorch marks, no spent magazines, no shattered compartments. Only 411 green names glowing across the status board, as though the most flawless battle any of them would ever fight had never happened at all. Lindqvist finally looked up from his reader. "I have everything I needed," he said quietly. Osei turned toward him. "And?" "The data is clean. The theory is sound." He hesitated. "But it isn't enough." The bridge stayed silent. "We can fight that battle perfectly forever," Lindqvist continued. "It won't matter. Every victory disappears with the reset." Osei looked toward the black viewport where the stars would soon return. "Then we've been asking the wrong question." Brandt glanced at him. "We don't need to beat them," Osei said. "We need to make sure the battle never begins." Lindqvist lowered his eyes to the pedestal. "I know where to keep looking," he said. "I just don't know the answer yet." Outside the bridge, the universe waited to repeat itself once more. Inside it, for the first time since the impossible began, the humans knew exactly what they were trying to solve. Dr. Emmerich Lindqvist did not sleep anymore. None of them did, not in the way that mattered. Sleep reset with everything else. A man could lie down exhausted and wake at the beginning of the same day with fresh muscles and the same tiredness behind his eyes, because exhaustion lived in memory, and memory was one thing the loop never touched. He stood in the cargo hold beside the pedestal. He had stopped looking at it like an artifact. He looked at it like a lock. "I can't turn it off," he said. Osei, Brandt, and Sokolov stood around the dark stone, while somewhere above them, and 11 minutes away, a fleet that had never met them prepared to arrive once again. "There's nothing to switch off. It isn't a machine." He rested a hand on the pedestal. "So I stopped asking how to disable it, and started asking how to stop it from ever resonating. And resonance depends on 3 things. He raised one finger. "Distance. The closer the FTL jump, the stronger the pedestal answers. I've watched the reaction grow stronger every time the emergence happens nearer to us. That's the first variable." A second finger. "Exposure. The disk has to receive the energy. Turn it away, bury it behind enough mass, and less of that energy reaches it. That's the second. A third. And frequency. The pedestal only answers one precise signature. If we can interfere with that signature before it reaches the stone, the resonance never forms." "And the settings?" Osei asked. "I don't have them." Lindqvist gave a weary smile. "I have 3 variables, and no values." He laid 2 fingers on the recessed disk. "What I do have is this. Everything else resets. This doesn't. The disk carries its position from one loop to the next." He looked around the circle. "So it isn't the lock." His fingers rested lightly on the stone. "It's the gauge. Every loop it tells me how close I came. I change one variable, read the result, then change another. One adjustment per loop until the readings finally lead me to the right combination." Brandt studied the pedestal for a long moment. "You're going to tune it?" Lindqvist nodded. "One variable at a time. Every loop gives me one new measurement. I change something, read the result, and change it again." Osei looked from the doctor to the dark stone. "Then we'd better start measuring." The first answer came from distance. The moment the stars returned, the meridian burned hard away from the point where the alien fleet would emerge. Engines howled as Sokolov drove the flagship to maximum thrust, opening every meter the ship could before the encounter began. Lindqvist never took his eyes off the reader. The resonance came anyway. The stars vanished. The loop reset. When the day began again, he compared the disk's position with the one he remembered from the previous loop. It had moved. Not as far. A slow smile crossed his face. "Distance matters." He brought the reader around so the others could see the new measurements. The resonance was weaker. Not enough to stop it, but enough to prove we're changing something. He drew another point onto the growing curve. "One variable confirmed." He capped the stylus. "Now we test the next one." The second answer came from shielding. They left the meridian where she was and moved the pedestal instead, lowering the dark stone deep into the ship's core. They buried it behind water tanks, reactor shielding, and the densest cargo they could find, then turned the disk away from the corridor where the FTL burst would arrive. The resonance came. The stars vanished. The day began again. Sokolov looked over as Lindqvist studied the new reading. "Well?" Lindqvist compared it with the previous loops, then nodded. It changed. He enlarged the graph on his reader. The shielding weakened the response, but it also changed it. It's not only the amount of energy reaching the pedestal. The direction matters too. The disk responds differently, depending on how the energy reaches it. He added another line to the growing set of curves. So now we know 2 variables. He looked back at the pedestal, but neither one is enough. The third answer proved the hardest. The Meridian carried containment emitters designed to isolate dangerous cargo behind energy fields. Lindqvist had the engineers rebuild one around the pedestal, hoping to absorb the exotic energy before it reached the stone. The idea was sound. The execution wasn't. He didn't yet know the exact frequency the pedestal responded to, so the field was little more than a blanket thrown across the problem. The resonance came anyway. The stars went out on schedule. Lindqvist studied the new reading for a long moment before lowering the reader. It barely changed. He rubbed a hand across his face. A broad field isn't enough. The pedestal answers one precise frequency. Unless I match that frequency exactly, the field does almost nothing. He looked back at the stone. It isn't blocking the resonance. It's just adding more noise. Osei crouched beside him while somewhere above, the crew prepared to fight another battle they already knew how to win. "How long?" he asked. "I don't know." Lindqvist didn't look up. "Every loop gives me one new measurement. That's all. I change one variable, read the result, and start again." After a long silence, he spoke more quietly. "You're still fighting them every time, aren't you?" "Every time," Osei said. "We haven't lost anyone since the 3rd loop." He looked toward the overhead decks where the battle would soon begin again. "They arrive believing it's the first time. We already know every move they're going to make." His voice remained calm, but there was no satisfaction in it. "We're getting very good at killing people who've never met us." Lindqvist said nothing. Osei rose to his feet. "So find me that frequency, Doctor." He looked once toward the cargo bay doors. "I'd rather remember solving this than winning another perfect battle." From there, it stopped being a series of experiments and became routine. Reader after reader, filled with graphs, equations, and crossed-out calculations. The loops kept coming. So did the battles. No one spoke much anymore. Brandt's dry remarks grew shorter until they disappeared altogether, and sometimes he simply sat on the bridge between loops, staring through the forward viewport, while everyone else prepared to do it again. Osei let the silence stand. There was nothing left to say that they hadn't already said a dozen times. They grew tired, not in body. The loop always gave them that back. In memory. Everything they did stayed with them while the universe insisted none of it had ever happened. After more loops than anyone still bothered counting, Lindqvist stood in the cargo hold with a reader full of intersecting curves. "I have it," he said quietly. They gathered around the pedestal. "I've confirmed what I suspected," Lindqvist said. "None of the 3 variables works on its own. Only the combination matters." He turned the reader so they could see the 3 curves converging on a single point. "We move to this distance, not as far as possible, this exact distance, where the pedestal's response falls into a frequency we can counter." His finger traced the next curve. "Then we relocate the pedestal to this position and orient the disk this way. The surrounding mass changes the resonance into something predictable." Finally, he pointed to the last graph. "Then we tune the containment field to the exact frequency and intensity needed under those conditions. If all 3 variables come together, the resonance never forms." He lowered the reader. "No resonance, no loop. The day simply continues." "And if you're wrong?" Brandt asked quietly. Lindqvist held his gaze. "Then nothing changes. We repeat the day. I study the new measurements, and I adjust the field again." He glanced down at the pedestal. "But I don't think I'm wrong." Osei looked at the ancient stone. It had been recovered from a civilization that vanished without explanation. Now, by pure accident, It had trapped 2 species inside the same impossible day. "We don't damage it," he said. "It still reaches the museum exactly as we found it." Lindqvist nodded. "We're not changing the pedestal. We're only preventing it from resonating for a few moments. Once the fleet has emerged, the conditions are gone." He looked back at Osei. "After that, it's just a piece of stone again." Osei nodded once. "Then we run it." A faint smile crossed Brant's face. "And if it works?" Osei finished the thought. "Nobody will ever know we were here." The stars came back. Osei had the clean minutes, and he used everyone exactly as Lindqvist had planned. "All stations, stay with the plan. Wait for my commands, not your displays." He didn't wait. "Sokolov, execute the plotted burn on my mark. Maximum thrust, exact heading. Not 1 meter short, not 1 meter long. Engineering, bring the containment field online around the pedestal and hold it at the doctor's frequency. No adjustments unless he calls for them." "Doctor." He looked toward the cargo hold. "Watch the stone." Mark. The Meridian accelerated. She had never been built for this. Every plate in the flagship groaned as Sokolov drove her along a course calculated from dozens of failed attempts toward a position that existed only because they had paid for it 1 loop at a time. Deep within the ship, behind layers of shielding and reactor mass, the pedestal rested inside the containment field. Lindqvist knelt beside it, reader in hand, watching the recessed disk without taking his eyes away for so much as a blink. "Emergence in 10 seconds, Adeyemi said. Her voice trembled. She had made this call more times than any human being should ever make the same call, but never while the ship was running away from it. "Doctor," Osei said. Lindqvist barely looked up. "So far, nothing." The stars tore open. The alien fleet emerged into empty space, finding the point where the Meridian had always been, deserted. The burst from the FTL jump spread through space. It reached the flagship. It passed through layers of shielding. It met the containment field. Lindqvist stared at the disk. Nothing. The reader remained steady. The disk did not move. His breath caught. "It's not responding." He looked again to make certain. Then the words burst out of him. "Captain, it's working. The pedestal isn't resonating." The bridge waited. 1 second. 5. 10. The stars remained exactly where they were. No darkness, no drift, no reset. The clock rolled past the moment it had stopped every time before, and kept going. "We're through," Sokolov said softly, unable to look away from the display. "Sir, we've crossed the interval." No one answered. After living the same minutes beyond counting, the crew of the Meridian sat in absolute silence, watching time do the one thing none of them had believed they would ever see again. It moved forward. For the first time since the impossible began, the resonance never formed. The day belonged to both fleets again. 2,000 meters and a whole world away, Shipmaster Dorith emerged into a charted empty corridor, his flank light a calm, even gold. "Emergence complete," Rente said. "Corridor holds 1 contact, Shipmaster, a distant convoy. Cargo hulls with light escorts, well clear of our vector." He paused over the display. "They're not arming. No targeting solutions. They appear to be continuing on their present course." Dorith studied the gray specks moving quietly across the stars. "Then we hold to the pattern," he said, as he had 400 times before. "We announce. We do not arm. Let them pass on their road, and we will pass on ours." His gold never wavered. "Log a peaceful first contact. Note that first meetings need not be difficult things. Logged, Rente said. The alien fleet turned away and continued into the dark. On the bridge of the Meridian, they watched it go. They watched the fleet that had killed Pharaoh, and Gunnery Sergeant Richard, and Boyd, and Adayemi at her station disappear into the darkness without ever knowing any of it had happened. They had fought the same battle again and again, died in it, mastered it, escaped it, and now the other side sailed away innocent of every shot ever fired. A young sensor officer spoke before he realized he had broken the silence. They have no idea we've been fighting this battle for days. Ose watched the last of the alien lights fade into the distance. And they never will. Deep within the flagship, the pedestal rested in silence inside its containment field, untouched and unchanged, still bound for the Human Galactic Museum. Someday, someone would stand before it, read that its purpose had never been discovered, and walk away none the wiser. They would never know that, for a handful of people, it had once held an entire war. Ahead, the stars remained bright. The day went on, and no one in all the universe knew what it had cost to let it.
Hey there, space human. I'm really curious about your thoughts on this video. Drop a quick comment and let me know what's on your mind. Or just say hi if you prefer. Either way, I'd love to hear from you. Also, remember to check the pinned comment. Trust me, it's worth a look. Oh, and one last thing. I've chosen another video for you to watch. Just click the card here, or here if you want the whole playlist. See you there.